Hello, and welcome back to the spoilerCast, the show we talk about movies, and we don't care about spoiling them because, well, it's the spoilerCast. You know, we talk about movies. And we don't care about spoiling them because it's the spoilerCast.
spoilerCast.
I'm sorry, I got caught in the loop. No, but yes, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to our kind of sneak preview or sneak start or whatever you call it in English. Start of the Christmas season.
I think just an early start.
Our early start of the Christmas.
Our way into the holidays.
Yes, because December is just around the corner, and we, as always, we're going to talk about Christmas movies.
Obviously.
Yeah, and this year we already talked about this, so I'm just going to briefly talk about it here. But we already talked about it on the Patreon episode, which of course you can check out. Patreon.com/don'tmagazine. Just $3 a month. You get an extra episode. A bunch of other stuff. We talked about what we're going to do this Christmas, and we're going to do a Home Alone Christmas. It lined up perfectly now that they've released the latest Home Alone movie.
Home Sweet Home Alone.
Right, Home Sweet Home Alone. Yeah. So we're going to do them in reverse, starting with the newest one and then moving our way all up to the original, the classic on December the 23rd.
Yeah, because we want to end it on a good note.
Yes.
In case, the new one sucks.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure the new one sucks. And I know the other ones suck. Even the second one is slightly derivative.
Slightly. But we started last week on Monday. No, not last week. This week on Monday with The Hobbit.
Yes.
For our patrons.
Because the Hobbit movies and the Lord of the Rings movies are kind of not Christmas movies, but they are holiday movies since they're all released in December originally. And I learned from you, Rebecca, that they're kind of holiday traditions for some people.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, for a lot of people, yeah. So I thought, let's
me included.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Hobbit movies. And we did. We talked about all three of them in one long Patreon episode. Once again, you can check that one out for just $3 a month. But we thought we should continue because it fit perfectly into our schedule that we talk about the Lord of the Rings movies as well. So this episode, we're talking about the Fellowship of the Ring. Then on Monday, we're talking about the Two Towers on Patreon. And then finishing up, of course, next Thursday, just before December starts. Well, technically it is December, right? Yeah, it's the 2nd of December.
Oh, yeah, it's the 2nd of December. So, yeah.
We're doing Return of the King. And after that, we move full force into Home Alone. And what is special this December is that all the episodes, including, because there's 6 movies, so we needed to do both the free episodes and the Patreon episodes as Home Alone episodes. But since it is Christmas, we decided to give all our listeners a little bit of a Christmas present. So during all of December this year, the Patreon episodes are free, and they will probably stay free. I will just upload them as on the Patreon feed without any pay restrictions. So
you'll still have to go into Patreon to listen to them, but you will not have to pay.
Exactly. So that's our little Christmas present to you.
You're welcome to pay if you want to.
Of course. Then it is a little bit of marketing for our Patreon. Of course, we're not
either way.
Yeah, either way.
Today, it's The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, that came out in 2001, so it's a 20-year anniversary as well.
Yes, that's also why we're doing it this year. I think a lot of people are going to make Lord of the Rings videos this December. I got that feeling.
Yeah, we're just a little bit early.
Yeah. So, 19th of December, 2001, I was there, midnight premiere, saw it with my friends, and I was not I can't say I was a huge fan because I was like 11 and I just read the book.
You went to a midnight premiere when you were 11?
By the way, I checked it out because we talked about this in the Hobbit episode. I had not read the book.
Okay.
Because I started reading the edition that I have at home, and that wasn't released until 2002. So
Oh.
I had not read the first book when I saw the first movie. I had, however, read the second book when I saw the second movie.
But hold up, back up again.
Yeah.
You were 11 and went to midnight premiere?
2001. Well, yeah, I was 12. Because it
Still.
was the day after my birthday, so.
I mean, I was probably like 13 the first time I went to midnight premiere, and that was with you when you were of age.
Well, yeah, but we were a bunch of people, a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds, so.
Any adults?
No?
Oh God.
Well, I was 12 in 2001. You were 13 in 2000 and... The fuck is that? 6? 5?
Yeah, something like that.
So,
I'm 4 years old and younger than you.
I was gonna say
4.5.
it was a very different world. It wasn't really. I don't know. I don't know.
It's because I'm a girl, probably.
Probably.
Either way.
Either way.
I did not see it in theaters, I can tell you that much.
Oh yeah. No, I mean yeah, because you were like what 7?
And I did not know of Lord of the Rings yet.
Yeah.
I was still on Harry Potter.
Yeah. But yeah, at the time.
Do you remember what you liked? If you liked it?
I liked it. Since I had no real prior knowledge. I mean, I had only found out about the Lord of the Rings that summer, or I guess the summer before, from my friends across the street, Martin and Robin, because they were pretty big fans, and of course, they were roped into the hype, so they had, they released a bunch of books with behind the scenes pictures and posters and stuff. So they had all that stuff even before the movie was out. So I was kind of dragged in a bit into the hype. So like, yeah, I want to see it, but I wasn't like, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to expect. So I gotta say, I was not floored by it. It wasn't like the greatest thing ever, but I liked it. I was like, it was a really good movie. That's what I remember. Yeah, it's been 20 years, but I remember I know Martin asked, so what did you think? I was like, it was good. Yeah, it was good. That's
I mean, it was enough for you to like buy the books, or
well, I got the books.
For the books,
I got the books from our grandfather. But I read them because I was interested, and I was there for the second midnight premiere. We'll talk about that in the next episode, but so yeah, I liked it.
Good enough.
Do you remember what your first impression was?
I do not, but I must have liked it because I did end up buying all 3 of the extended cut limited edition DVDs.
Oh yeah, I know.
With like 4 DVDs.
Oh yeah, those boxes are really
movie.
cool. Yeah.
Still have them somewhere. Those are the only like special edition movies that I've ever bought, to be honest. So I must have liked them.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the first time I watched either of them.
Okay, you don't even remember when it was.
No idea, no clue. However, rewatching the first one this week,
yeah,
I realized that I've never seen the original version. I've only seen the extended cut.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, we should say that we're talking about the theatrical cuts because
that's what on HBO. That's what on Netflix and HBO.
Netflix and HBO, and that's the only. I only own the theatrical ones on DVD, so and I wasn't gonna go out my way to get the director's cut
extended.
Yeah, no. 3 hours is enough.
Yeah, and I mean the first one isn't that much longer, is it?
No, it is. It's they're all 3 is like an hour longer.
Hour? Okay.
I remember.
Oh wait, aren't there 3 cuts?
No. There's
because I remember I have a memory of there's one cut that's only like 10 minutes longer. Maybe I'm confusing it with something else. Either way, I've only seen the long versions.
Okay.
So I was like, did I miss something when I was rewatching it?
Yeah, okay. So how was that? Did you like it better or worse?
Some things were like, you kind of need them.
You think?
That were cut out. Yeah, I was like, this doesn't make sense. You need that bit. Where's that thing? But
because I haven't like, unlike the Hobbit, I haven't reread the book for this episode. Because it's like 3 times the length, and I only had a few days, so I was like,
it's a slow book to read.
Yes, so
I've never finished it.
no, I didn't. I started reading it, but I mean, I didn't even get a third into the book. So, um, but I rewatching it like so you mean they're like important stuff cut out of this one?
No, maybe it's just because I'm so used to seeing them, but it feels like, that tiny thing where I was about to say Bilbo, Frodo, when they're leaving Rivendell, and he's like, Gandalf, left or right, and Gandalf's like, left. It's like, that's
Okay, sure. I mean,
hello, I missed that one.
yeah, I suppose. But I mean,
But there are
those are those
sure there are
little,
some things that are necessary as well.
yeah,
To
those
be
are
honest.
those little things that those what you call killing your darlings. Like
Yeah.
that seems great, but we need to get it under 3 hours. Get rid
I
of
mean,
stuff we don't need.
that scene is literally like 20 seconds though,
Yep.
so you
Well,
could get it.
well, speaking of 20 seconds, after I watched all the Hobbit movies and I read the book and we talked about it. My brain now continuing talking about the other books and movies. My brain kind of got stuck on the Hobbit, so I started like editing my own fan edit and
Of the Hobbit, you
oh
mean?
yeah, of the Hobbit. Trying to turn 3 movies into one. And I've only edited the first movie so far. But and at first you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna cut out all the big chunks, all the bloated action, and you do that. But then you realize that there are just little things as well. So like 20 seconds, little 20 seconds cuts, or even like 5-second cuts here and there, just to edit the music. It makes difference. Like
Sure.
I can see the same thing happening when you're editing a real movie. Like
Yeah,
we need to these 3 seconds. They're not necessary. Just cut it out for pacing.
I
So
guess. And I
even though
agree.
it's a cute moment and it's in the book. So,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
there are certain scenes that are just unnecessary when they're in the mines of Moria.
Moria.
Sometime before the battle with the orcs,
Yeah,
for some
goblins.
reason Gandalf mentions that Bilbo had what's the Mithrandil? What's it called?
Mithril.
Mithril. He mentions that Bilbo had rings of blah 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 steel, but
Mithril
we
seal.
already know that because
Yeah, when he
he
gave it to
showed
Frodo.
Frodo that,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
gave it to him. And then shortly after, Frodo gets stabbed. So it would have been unnecessary to like point it out because then it's in your mind, and then
yeah,
you'll realize it when he gets stabbed. And then they have this long scene where you think he's dead, but he's not because you just told us about the steel,
yeah. Exactly.
the
And that's
ring Brynja. I can't remember the name for it.
no, I don't remember what it's called in English.
The metal shirt.
Yeah.
You know, the magical metal shirt in this case.
Yeah. Um,
So yes, there are definitely scenes that are unnecessary in the extended cuts.
but
You know,
but you still prefer the extended one, I suppose.
I think so because I'm so used to him.
It's almost 4 hours. Like that's half your day just to watch one movie.
Yeah, but that's the kind of movie I put on. I mentioned it in the Hobbit episode. When I have something to do that I know is gonna take a long time, and I'm gonna be sitting still and doing that one thing forever, I'll just put it on in the background. It's great.
Yeah, but then you're not actually watching it. I mean, just
No, because I've seen it so many times.
sure,
Though.
sure, sure.
I
But I
mean, I
mean,
did the same thing when I was rewatching this one now. I did it while I was working because I've seen it so many times. So I
I did,
just needed to refresh my memory, my
right?
memory.
I did zone out a little bit during the Moria sequence because it's a lot of running around and jumping and fighting.
Yeah,
Like, okay, I get it. Just move on.
and I mean, you've seen it so many times that I could even like quote some of it just before it happens
Oh
because
yeah,
I
of
remember
course.
the beats, of course.
It
Which is
has. It's very quotable, especially I like the first half. Is
yes.
very quotable. Anyway,
Anyway,
yeah, we should move on. So I guess we both like it.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I
Yeah,
would never say it's my favorite movie, but yes, I like it.
no, and it's hard, like, because it's one of those movies where there is so much. Unlike the Hobbit movies, you can see all the hard work put
Oh
into the
yes.
movie on screen all the time.
Like it still looked fantastic even though
Yeah,
it's 20 years old today. I mean, sure, there are a few things that are like, okay, this is old
some stuff
CGI,
sticks
but
out.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
since most of it's not actually too much CGI,
yeah.
it still looks
There
immaculate.
is, yeah, and that is something I found. I have like a newfound respect for it now, because there were some years after I saw the Two Towers. Spoilers for that discussion. The first time I watched the Two Towers, I hated it, but we'll get to
Oh,
that. So after that,
yeah.
I was kind of like anti Lord of the Rings for a while. I was like, nah, man, these movies are shit. They ruined everything. I don't like them. People are stupid for liking them. But then over the years, I've kind of uh, gone back to liking, because like, nah, I was just
A dumb kid.
yeah, a rebellious film nerd, I suppose. Like, no, this is for the masses. Fuck that. And
Oh, when you were
my indie
um
face, my pretentious
yeah,
face,
you were
yeah,
pretentious.
I was just a few years after Return of the King, so I was like, nah, fuck that. Um, but watching it now, I definitely have like a newfound respect for the craft, the filmmaking.
Definitely.
And this is also the first time I have watched it like critically, because the last time I watched it before this is years ago, and it was just you and me hanging out watching them.
Yeah.
So, I definitely enjoyed that much more. But I also then there's things that I now realize, like, why I'm not in love with it, that sticks out to me, and one of them is, I don't want to say acting. It's it's a combination of, I guess, directing and dialogue. Not so much acting. Maybe part of it is acting as well, because other than Sean Bean, Boromir, Elijah Wood sometimes,
Mm.
and Ian McKellen for Gandalf, the other actors are everyone's very stoic, very,
Yes.
very just standing around, talking like this. Everything is very important, and I'm saying these things slowly and very monotonously, so you get the weight of what I am saying. There's
It's
no
high
emotion.
fantasy.
Yeah, there's no emotion in anything that people. Even some of the scenes between Arwen and what the fuck is his name? Aragorn.
Aragorn?
When they're standing after the council of the
Oh
the
yeah.
the ring in Rivendell, when they're meeting on that bridge, and she's like
Hmm.
swearing
I
away
think
her
and
yeah,
everything.
her immortality to him. It's just like, so they're just so like this stone face, like,
Well,
like,
yes.
that's that's
Specifically, to
something
be
I
honest.
don't. And of course Legolas, because he's an elf.
Well,
They're
yeah,
all
but that's
like
the
that.
thing. The elves are very stoic, almost annoyingly so.
Yeah.
But Arwen, I'm blanking. What's the actress's name?
Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler, which I know is a great actress.
She's fine.
Okay, not great, but she's good.
She's good.
She does better than that, at least.
Yes.
Which is why it's bothering me so much, because I know she can do better than that.
Yeah.
And in this one, specifically in this one, she's so like deadpan almost.
Yeah.
There's no emotions on her face for most of the time.
Yeah, and you get that with Elrond and the other just random elves around, and I mean, even Aragorn for the
Sure.
most part. Viggo Mortensen, he's a very good actor. I really like him and other
Yes.
stuff. But here he is this he has this aura around him that he's supposed to be like the I don't know. He almost got a little bit of a Mary Sue quality to him, that he never stumbles, he never falters.
Yeah. He's
He's
already a king somehow.
Yeah,
That's what's
yeah,
bothering
yeah.
me. Because
Um,
even though he's technically not, he acts as if he is.
yeah. I don't get the like downtrodden man who's been living in exile for years feeling from him, except for maybe in the beginning in Bree.
Well, yeah, and that's just because he's hiding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I miss him, because then you have the scenes with Sean Bean, and my
Yeah.
God, especially towards the end when they're in Amon Hen, the before the battle and
The
during the
last
battle,
battle.
he is acting circles around everyone.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, of course he
It's
has that. That's also, like I said, has to do with the writing and the dialogue and the directing, because he
sure.
has more emotions to work with. So that's why I'm also saying that it's not just that the actors are bad or
No,
even
no, no.
not performing perfectly. It's that they don't have much to do other than say dialogue and then
Because
fight.
they're book characters.
Yeah, yeah,
They're based on characters from a book who are just there to tell the story, not to develop.
yeah.
Which unfortunately brings out characters that are very stone faced and stiff.
Yeah, and then you have characters like Gimli, who is more of like sort of a comedic character, both in the book
Yeah.
and the movie.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have much to do. And that's also a problem when you have 9 main characters. Even though
Yes.
they're not
That
all technically main characters, they still, need to take up roughly the same amount of space on
yeah.
screen, and that just does not lend enough time for each character to actually be fleshed out.
No.
And that's why I both liked and disliked the fact that the dwarves in The Hobbit were more or less treated like, oh, they're the dwarves, except
Yeah.
for like Thorin, Balin, and sometimes Fili and Kili. The rest of them were just, oh, they're the dwarves, whatever.
Yeah.
That lent more room for the other the Hobbit to actually
Yeah.
take up some, even though he is kind of sidelined, he at least has an arc, which
Exactly.
almost none of the other characters have. Especially now
Which
that you
we
cut out a lot of the action and some of the fluff. You see that, oh look, there's actually a very clear and interesting arc for Bilbo in the first Hobbit movie. I wonder why they just didn't cut it down to like an hour and 30 like I did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But back to I was about to say Mr. Bean, but Sean Bean.
Yes, Sean Bean.
He's almost too good. He's comparing it because he's in the movie with a bunch of people who are more or less deadpan.
Yeah.
The way he's acting when he's finally getting the chance to act
it's
is
so good.
almost too much because you're so used to everyone else being so stone faced.
I don't know.
So
I don't
that
think so.
when he's like freaking out after Frodo disappears, it looks almost ridiculous.
No.
Almost.
Those scenes are so good. Oh my god. It could have been mine. It should have been mine. Give it to me. It's so good.
No, he's still great, but it's kind of too stark of a difference between the other actors and him that it makes it like he's almost too much because they're just too little.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's acting or if it's directing or if it's just how the characters are written. I don't know.
I think it's like thinking about how much effort went into the technical aspects of the movie. I think it has to do with directing. And once again, this is one of those where you have to tread lightly. You can't say that Peter Jackson is a bad director, especially now when you talk about Lord of the Rings. He's not a bad director. He's done some amazing stuff. This is amazing stuff. But I think that sometimes when it came to the actors, he just referred to like, yeah, these are the lines, these are the emotions. Let's move on because I have 59,000 orcs to direct over here that are all carrying like real armors and real swords, and there are horses and animals and wizards, and you just say the lines. Just say the lines.
Yeah.
Oh, and everything has to be shot with forced perspective, and there's green screens everywhere. I think he's a lot of technical aspects just for the director to handle it, and then so sometimes I think the acting got lost in the mix. Because, like I said, you have great actors like Viggo Mortensen, who still sometimes just feels like a little aloof.
Yeah.
But that's really my only problem with this movie. Well, I mean, that is a big one, that some of the characters doesn't feel emotionally involved at some points. But I mean, they all still have good scenes. Like once again with Sean Bean when they're talking to each other when he's dying. It's so good. Once again, the dialogue.
Yeah. I have one more problem with the movie.
Oh, yeah?
Frodo in general.
Oh?
Though I'm not sure, he might be exactly the same in a book. I have not actually finished it because I got stuck on some pages where they were just walking and walking and walking for pages, and I just gave up. And I was about 12 or something, so I couldn't focus. But the description on IMDb is quite good. A meek hobbit from the Shire.
Yeah, that's what he is.
He's very meek, but he's almost. It's like he's a child that they all have to take care of.
Well, he
And
is almost a child. I mean, technically, he's not a child. He's in Hobbit adulthood, but I mean,
yes,
he's kind of lived a sheltered life, and he's just entered adulthood when the movie starts.
yeah, it's just so
And I mean, he's a
because the
Hobbit.
other hobbits tend better than he does in
Well,
all the situations. Merry and Pippin are probably older, as far as I understand.
yeah, it's supposed to be similar, I think.
Yeah, but like a
Similar
couple of
age,
years or
maybe,
something.
maybe. Yeah.
They're a bit more daring. We know that.
Well, yeah, that's because they're the tricksters,
Yeah,
the I don't know what you call them,
thieves,
busungar.
menaces.
Yeah. And
And then
then
you have Sam, who's I'm confused about him in general.
okay. Yeah, they don't really go into his character too much, like who he actually is.
No,
But
I
he
mean
he has been like
he's
he's like
supposed to
he's
be
like
Frodo's best
yeah,
friend.
Frodo's like
He calls
lifelong
him
friend.
Mr. Frodo.
Well, that's because his father worked as a gardener for Bilbo, and when he got too
Sure.
old, Sam took over. So it's like a professional thing.
Yeah,
Mr.
but
Bilbo, Mr. Frodo.
you're not in that setting anymore.
No, but it's just
Drop
it's
it.
it's a thing, and it's a thing in
And
the
they have
in the
almost
book.
a romantic relationship, it feels like, but they don't. I know they don't. But
Yeah. Well,
the way they look at each other, specifically how Frodo looks at Sam sometimes, and his oh Sam,
oh, Sam.
he looks at him with such
Which
love
he says it like
and
a couple of times in
admiration.
this movie. I know he does it in the
Yes,
third movie as well. Yeah, but let's quickly talk about how. Well, I think people see homoeroticism too much in movies. Like
definitely.
like
But this is one of the few times I do it.
yeah, I guess. But I mean, because people always say like, oh, anytime two guys in a movie are like hugging or even like laughing together or having a meaningful conversation, that's like homoeroticism. And I've even looked it up, like thinking
Eh.
like homoeroticism meaning like there's an undertone of like maybe not. No, like homoeroticism means in the proper use of the word is like there is like a hidden like
Sexual
romantic love, sexual
erotic.
tension, yeah.
Yeah.
And like I don't understand. You rarely hear that when two women in a movie are like hugging or laughing together or doing something girly together. But like,
Because,
I mean, sure, this movie it's those like
prime example though is
like
this movie because
yeah
you
when
have Frodo and Sam who are very much they look like freaking lovers sometimes, but then you have Merry and Pippin, who in my eyes are just the bestest of friends.
yeah.
But they do just as much hugging and they're just as close. They just don't do the oh Sam.
Oh, Sam. But that's because he's meek and a little like
I
I don't know.
guess. But it's just his eyes are always wet when he's saying it, and they're like twinkling, and he's just like,
But that's
oh,
I mean that's mostly because the time it says "Oh Sam" is when they're talking about like
leaving
leaving
their
the,
life
the the
behind.
the fellowship behind, going on a perilous
Yeah,
quest.
I
Like
guess.
I'm taking the ring to Frodo to Mordor alone, and like but I promise to keep you safe, and I will. Like there's this like this grand gesture, so it's not gonna be like, oh
Yeah, I
thanks,
guess.
thanks buddy.
But he does say
Like
it one more time before that,
yeah,
when it's not as emotional. It shouldn't be as emotional, at least. He just goes, "Oh, Sam," and it's, huh? Makes no sense.
I don't know. I think people read too much into that because it's like on some level, people still think it's funny to make like gay jokes. It's like, hey, there's a
Yeah.
lot of homoeroticism here, like, like
I mean, there are fanfics of Gimli and Legolas getting
yeah,
it on,
of course. There's
which I
well,
don't get.
there's rule 34. If it's on the internet, there's porn of it. So there's that for
It's true.
everything. You know?
Yeah, but like,
I know.
I don't get
I
it
know.
in
I've
that
seen it.
case, because why would Legolas and Gimli? Is it because in the end of the book
they
they go
become
away in a hot air balloon or
no.
whatever?
It's simply because they become friends, and you see, guys can't be friends. That means they have to fall in love and have sex. It's like no,
Jesus Christ! And
uh,
because they don't have love interests in the movie,
yeah, exactly. Guys
that
can
helps.
just be friends.
Yeah.
Guys can, hug other guys without there being sexual tension. I don't
But
know.
that's
You never hug your
feminine.
friends?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
Yeah,
even
that's
even in today, like people talk about, the homoeroticism. Blah, blah, blah. What?
it's because it's still somewhat of a stigma
Yeah, it's
in
so weird.
society,
I think
even
it's so
though
weird.
we're hopefully moving away from it, but it's still, you know, also it's because people nowadays say if you're scared to hug a guy, oh, are you insecure in your sexuality?
Yeah, but then when you do it,
Like,
then
don't
there's
do that.
homoeroticism. It's like, so you're
Yeah,
damned if you do, damned if you don't, so to speak.
exactly.
And I don't get that. I don't
Nah,
like that.
that's stupid.
Yeah. Another prime example when in Rocky 3, when Apollo takes over and training Rocky after Mickey dies, you have the classic training montage, and they got to work on his speed because he's a slugger, but now they got to work
Oh
on
yeah,
speed. So you have all the speed training, but then they have the thing where they're running on the beach, and
yeah,
at first Apollo's much faster, of course, but then Rocky manages to outrun him. And then they run into the shallow of the water, and they start jumping around like, yeah, we fucking did it. And they hug, and they're like, oh man, that's the
oh,
like
because they're like
biggest.
shirtless, they're on the
No, they're not even
beach,
shirtless.
aren't they? Oh,
No, they
maybe not.
have tank tops or
Tank
whatever.
tops, right?
Yeah,
Tank top.
but I mean, like, how is that? What is the homoeroticism there? They're happy because they achieved a goal, and
Yeah,
I'm not even like trying to play like oblivious. Like, I genuinely don't understand why it has to be homoerotic just because it's two guys being happy and hugging.
I don't know.
Whatever. Let's move on from that.
Let's move on. To what?
Well, the rest of the movie, because uh, well,
See, the first movie isn't my favorite, to be honest, out of the three. I have to
okay.
mention
I
that.
think I think it is my favorite. Well, we'll see. I haven't rewatched the other one, so
As far as I remember, it's not my favorite out of the three. And I think it's because I don't know, it feels slow somehow because they don't get very far,
no,
but
and
they
it's
do a lot of things though.
and there's a lot of setup. I mean, they don't actually go on the quest until they get to Rivendell, and that's like an hour
Yeah.
into the movie.
Well, yeah. But that's just 1/3.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's not that bad, to be honest.
No,
Maybe
but
it is because it's so long and you haven't seen it in a while that feels very slow.
for me, what I remember at least, I think the second one is the worst one, and not just because I hate it when I was young. Like rewatching it, it's the one where they deviate the most from the book,
Oh,
and there is this since they're all split up, which I think is both good and bad because since the characters are split up, they have more they have more focus on each character at
yes.
specific moments instead of having all of them all the time.
That's what I remember liking about it.
But the whole like liberation of Rohan, even though that is important, and looking at the movies as a whole, I think that is very very important because there's the subplot of like the fall of man,
Yeah.
and the fall and rise of man, which is very like almost as big of a story in the movies and the books as the whole throwing the ring into the fires of Mount Doom story is.
Yes.
But at the time when you're watching it, it's like, okay, so there's these horse people and their king is
Get on with
corrupted.
it.
Can we just get back to Frodo and see if he actually throws a ring into the fire?
See, the problem with Frodo's storyline is, and this is just in general over all the movies, I know we're supposed to keep it to the first one, but
Yeah, but
whatever. He just walks a
yeah,
lot.
not much happens except for
No.
Gollum.
A few scuffles
That's
and
it.
they run
Gollum,
into
the
the
Shelob, and other than that, it's just him walking.
don't they run into someone's brother?
Oh right,
Boromir's brother?
Faramir. Yeah, Boromir's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's
But
like
that's in the third movie, right?
no, it's like towards the end of the second movie,
Oh, right, right.
and he's in the third movie, but they're not together.
Yeah, right. So, like, Frodo is kind of the most boring character in all of this, and his storyline is the most boring, to be honest, because all he has to do technically is to get from point A to point B,
Yeah, and
and
that's
most of it
also
is just walking and hiding.
why I think the second movie is the worst one because it is like almost like a there's almost like a build-up, transportsträcka, whatever you call that.
Just getting from point A to point B.
Yes, sort of like
Or
setting
literally.
up stuff for the third movie where stuff actually happens.
Yeah.
Because that's when you have they actually defend Middle Earth from the armies of Mordor. You have Sam and Frodo actually getting into Mordor and moving towards the fire
True.
of Mount Doom. It, it feels like there's more stuff going on in the third one, and the second one is just that's just they're on their way towards the third movie.
Well, it's the second movie out of 3, so
Yeah.
it's bound to be a little bit of a.
Yeah,
Point
I'm gonna
to
be
B.
rereading it as soon as I'm finished with the first book, and it'll be interesting to see what I think of the book because I remember liking all the books. Well, the third one not so much because it's boring. That's a lot of walking around in that book.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, back to the first movie.
Back to the first movie.
Um,
I mean, it's so difficult to talk about just the first movie.
yes,
though.
it is. Yes, it is.
Because they are a consecutive, not like consecutive, is that the word? A continuous story.
One
that's the word I
continuous
was
story.
looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so difficult to
almost
separate them, especially since we talked about the Hobbit and
as
all
one
three
long
of them in
story.
one.
Yeah.
It was easier.
Yeah, and I mean from what I understand, the 3 books were originally written as one long book.
We had it as one long book.
Yeah.
I don't know where that one is anymore.
I think it was just split up. I think they're actually like split up in that big book as well. That's like first, second, and third book. But they're like you just continue reading. It's not 3 different books.
You don't have to wait a couple of years or a year or so to watch the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or read the next part.
Yeah,
It's right there.
Yeah.
And they're not cut off like with Harry Potter, where you have like the summer vacation being the cutoff.
Yeah.
So you have a whole summer.
A
in
clear
between
beginning,
the books.
middle, and end of every movie. Well,
Even though the ending of the first movie here in Lord of the Rings is actually a very good ending.
It's a better ending than the first Hobbit movie. That just kind of
which
ends.
we mentioned. Yeah, this one has a clear. We've finished the first part of our journey.
Mm-hmm.
Now the next part begins. Perfect.
Yeah,
Which is kind of weird, but that's like one of my favorite scenes in general in this.
Oh yeah,
in this
the whole Amon Hen sequence from when
the whole thing with the boats.
when they leave Lothlorien until the movie ends is perfect. Yeah.
When you see the statues and in the background you see the waterfall, well, where the water goes off the cliff.
Yeah. Well,
till they send off Boromir there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And
it's all shot in real life, in location, right?
Yes. I mean, they've added some stuff, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, they didn't throw Sean Bean off the cliff, but
no, and you can actually see that it's a dummy in the boat.
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
it looks good.
The fallen statues and the ruins in Amon Hen are all fake, of course, but
sure.
They're not fake.
They're
they built actual like stone stuff, but I mean, it's put there for the movie.
Yes, but it's staged. It's still physically there though when they're recording. So
yeah. So let's move into what's the best part of these movies. All the technical stuff.
Technical stuff.
We already mentioned it.
Beautiful.
We mentioned it earlier, but goddamn, this is so fucking well made.
One of the reasons that it is so liked in general, and definitely one of the reasons why I like these movies so much, because considering when they're done, they're still one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, because
no one does it like this anymore.
No, I mean, not even Peter Jackson does it like this anymore. Comparing this to The Hobbit, there is so much green screen stuff and digital sets and like fake looking stuff shot in the studio. All like these movies.
Like, it doesn't even use miniatures.
No,
in The Hobbit.
Yeah, there are a couple of shots, but here, like all the Orthanc, the tower, Saruman's tower, even when they build out the mines under his tower.
The cracks.
Yeah, all of that is just miniatures.
When they drop in the trees.
And I mean, when they get to Bree, they built the first couple of houses for real, but then when they pan up, you see the rest of Bree. This beautiful miniature. When Gandalf is riding towards Gondor after the party, it's this beautiful miniature of Gondor in the distance. So much of Rivendell. I mean, obviously that was shot in a studio, but
Or
even in the
because
background, like instead of just filming green screen and then putting in CGI stuff, they filmed green screen stuff and then put in miniatures in the green
yeah,
screens. It is so fucking beautiful, and
it's a
and
masterpiece.
and then let's another thing, like where size doesn't always matter. Here, whatever you want to call it. Um, compare any fight scene in The Hobbit to the Amon Hen fight, or even the Moria fight.
Oh yes.
Like it is like they're actually like choreographed fights between real people instead of
Yeah,
just a bunch of guys in dwarf costumes swinging at cartoon goblins or
at
cartoon orcs.
nothing
Yeah, at
really, to
nothing.
be
Yeah,
honest.
like especially the Amon Hen fight, all the stuff between Aragorn and Lurtz or Boromir and the other Urukais.
Yeah.
It's an actual choreographed fight, and it's not just zoomed out and everyone just swinging. There's moves to it, and there's like
Mhm.
the camera is involved. It is wonderful, but there's only like 20 orcs instead of 400 goblins,
Yeah, but
and
then
still that is
again,
better, because more isn't
when you
always
have
better.
when you have the flashback to the war where
Yeah,
they beat Sauron, you have individuals in armor doing moves, even though they've only made like say 20 of them to be real, and then
yeah,
they copied those 20.
yeah,
Those 20 are still individuals compared to a lot of times nowadays where they're all just computer generations, which they all move in perfect unison,
mm,
while actual humans, actual actors will have slight differences, making them more alive.
yeah,
And they did that in Lord of the Rings, in all three of them, and I fucking love it. Because you can tell that there are different people in those suits of armor.
yeah,
You can tell even the elves who are so perfectly in unison, you can tell that they are humans, some of
yeah.
them.
And in some
Actors.
and in some of those shots, they have literally hundreds of extras in elf armor
Yes.
just standing there. It's so cool.
Just doing it.
Yeah. And even the CGI stuff, because there are CGI
Sure.
there is CGI
Definitely.
stuff. There are CGI armies in the movie, especially in
Yeah.
the flashback stuff. But because it's filmed on actual film on celluloid, you get that first of all, you get that film grain that kind of covers it up a little bit.
Yes.
Um
Nice.
and since all the CGI stuff has to be rendered onto actual film, it feels more like it's actually there. So even when you have the CGI armies, because I'm pretty sure they use the same software to create all the armies. This is like where they can
Sure.
create individual characters and even go down onto like an eyeball level of each character.
Sure.
And like oh, the dwarves fight this way and the elves fight this way and the orcs fight this way. So it's all different. But just looking at that scene, the Isildur killing
War,
Saruman
yeah.
fight in the beginning, and the battle of the five armies in the final Hobbit movie, it just looks more real. Even though the CGI is technically worse, it looks more real.
Yeah. It helps that they chose to like in the Lord of the Rings make it a darker setting in general, and in the Five Army battle it's very light.
It's very light, very bright.
It's it's an artistic choice probably, but it helps because it helps your cause. It helps promote the feeling of realness
Yeah.
to the CGI. If you put everything in broad daylight, of course you're gonna see how smooth everything is.
Yeah.
But if it's shrouded in darkness, that looks cool.
That's why the first T-Rex shot in Jurassic Park is still
Oh
perfect,
yes,
because it's mostly
yes,
covered in rain.
yeah.
But that's from 1993, and it still looks perfect because they knew
Oh yes,
exactly how to first, create the dinosaur, but then also how to hide the imperfections.
yes.
That's very important when you deal with CGI.
It's very important in general when you make a movie.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Hide your imperfections. Have
Oh,
them there, but hide them.
yeah. Speaking of that, just to shit a little more on The Hobbit, since I sat last night for like 5 hours and just tinkering with the footage, I noticed because that wasn't shot with forced perspective. I think we mentioned that he is
Yeah,
basically green screen 90% of the movie.
yeah.
We didn't mention that he had like a not a nervous breakdown, but he had like a meltdown halfway through the filming of the movies where he was just because he was always alone, filmed against
Yeah.
the green screen, and
Sucks. Everyone else gets to film together,
yeah,
and he's alone.
and he was like, "This is not why I became an actor," and got super angry, and everyone was like, "Oh fuck!" So they put like nice like notes and pictures in his booth where he was confined to.
Because that helps.
Yeah, well, it helped a little bit, I suppose. But anyway,
Sure.
here, he's... And by the way, yeah, like I was going to say, so especially in the scenes in Bilbo's house, when the dwarves are there and they're having their meeting before the quest, because the picture is so bright, because it's filmed in 48 frames with all that extra light,
Yeah.
god damn, you can clearly tell he's green screened in, or the other people are green screened around him. It looks horrible. I mean, you won't notice if you're just watching it, but when you're actually like, when you're watching the same 10 seconds over and over again, it's like, that guy isn't there. That's super annoying. But I also gotta mention then, and this was just when I watched, because I only watched The Lord of the Rings once now, there is a scene when he, I think it's when he's leaving. After
Frodo?
No, sorry, Gandalf. Once again, Gandalf. It's after the party, and he gives the ring to Frodo and puts it in the envelope, and then leaves because I have matters to tend to. And he walks out the door. His hair swings down. And there's like when you chroma key something, when you take out the green stuff, green screening, you use like feathering to make sure that the hair, like, because you don't want like a green hue around the hair.
Exactly.
And they do that perfectly. But when his hair falls down, there's green, like a green mist almost, a little bit in the hair. Not the edge of the hair, but in there. And it's like, it's all green! It might have just been a trick of the eye, but it looked like when I green screened something. It looked horrible.
It might also just be a freaking mistake.
It might be, yeah. But like those are the only like few times where the technical aspects didn't quite... That's like the only one.
Well,
Other
again,
because it's perfection.
It's CGI from 2001.
Yes.
But the other technical things they did, the SFX, the special makeup, holy crap!
All the orcs, all the
orcs and Urukai.
I mean,
even the freaking elf ears.
Yeah, the elves and the Gimli. I mean, everything looks so fucking good.
It's the funny thing is that when you see the birth of the Urukais, it looks almost disgusting. But because you can't tell that it's makeup or fake, it's so magical at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's disgusting to see something come out of that sack and just be but
the subterranean heat and slime, as it's called.
I'm always mesmerized when that scene comes on screen. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is so beautifully made.
And that's the thing with visual effects, or special effects, whichever one it is. We've talked about this.
Makeup effects.
Yeah, makeup effects. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, what you're watching is real. That is real. I mean, it's latex, but it's real. It's not CGI. Yeah. That is an Urukai standing there.
True. There are other movies. I can't think of one off the top of my head where they kind of fail with that part. You can see that the person is wearing a wig, or you can like tell that that nose is definitely put on there.
Yeah, or the makeup appliances are they're too thick, so they can't act with their face anymore. I mean, recently we watched a Swedish Netflix show called The Unlikely Murderer, about the Palme murder in Sweden.
Oh yeah.
When they shot the prime minister, whatever you want to call him in Sweden.
No, it wasn't finance.
No, he was statsminister, so I guess prime minister, sort of.
Right, yeah, he was prime minister.
Either way, and we had very famous Swedish comedian Robert Gustafsson playing the murderer, or one of the suspected murderers. In this version, he was the murderer.
Yeah.
And they put a bunch of like makeup to make his face a lot rounder than it really is.
Yeah, because he's got a pretty skinny face.
He's pretty skinny. And the real person he was playing, he had sort of a round face, but he didn't have like a fat face.
It's just his shape is rounder.
But they almost made him like plump. So he can like around the mouth, he can barely act. It looks horrible, especially when you're watching it in 4K. And I'm like, this is a professional TV show, Netflix show being made in 2021. Yeah. Like, didn't anyone look at makeup tests? It looks horrible. Other than that, it was a pretty good show. Whatever.
Well, I'm curious to see how this would look, how Lord of the Rings would look in 4K, because
I
I've only seen it on DVD, so it's not, it's not
No,
perfect,
that's
it's not
standard
Blu-ray.
definition, and then
Yeah, and I've only
now
seen it on
streaming HD.
streaming,
Yeah,
which
I mean the HBO Max
it's
streaming is
HD,
pretty
but
damn good, but
then you have my screen, which is not the best.
yeah, if you're watching on your computer, you haven't seen it in. Well, yeah, sorry, it's HD. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's at least HD. But I mean, if I put it on my phone, it'll probably be a little bit better. 'Cause my phone has a bit better screen than the one I'm watching movies on, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Um.
I'm watching movies on the older screen for some reason because
Oh.
it's bigger,
Okay.
I guess, and it's
Yeah.
better precision.
I would be interested in watching it in 4K just to see, because specifically older movies that are shot on film tend to look better in 4K because uh
Slates so
actual
well, probably.
actual film has enough like data in it, so to speak,
Yeah.
data for an 8K resolution. That's the whole
Ooh,
thing. Yeah, like
ooh.
modern cameras uh usually are only filmed in 2K, sometimes 4K.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the Hobbit movies look very detailed and why you can see all the mistakes in the CGI, because it's filmed in
Yes,
5K. It's one of the few movies that are
exactly.
actually filmed in more than 4K nowadays, if it's not on film. Problem is, though, I've heard that the color correcting on the 4K releases that came out a while ago, or like last year, or whatever, is horrible. Like everything has like a blue tint over it. I've heard.
Oh
I haven't
no.
watched any of it. But a lot of fans were like, "Don't watch this. Just watch the Blu-rays
Okay.
instead." So that sucks. But I would still like to watch it just to see the detail, how much more
Yeah.
detail they capture. Because once again, that is the best aspect of this
Yeah,
movie.
the details is 99% of the reason I watched those movies,
Yeah, yeah,
to be honest.
and
And I'm not sure what the last percentage is, but
well, the story.
I know in the other movies it's the trees. I
Oh yeah,
fucking love the
the
living trees.
ends. Yeah.
The ends.
Um.
I
Oh
do remember having a bit of a fascination with the Lord of the Rings when I finally started watching them.
yeah.
Specifically with the elves, because they are very cool creatures. I think that's around the time when I started playing World of Warcraft as well.
Okay.
And I always played an elf. Because they are fascinating creatures.
Sure. Yeah.
But the first movie doesn't give them a lot of space.
No, they don't have a lot to do
Even
in the
though
first
you
movie.
have so much lore all around it
Yeah.
once you've seen all the movies and I guess once you've read all the books.
Oh yeah.
Because I started watching this YouTube, I don't remember the channel, I don't even remember the name of the video, where they talk about where the Elven King was during the Lord of the Rings movies.
Thranduil?
Yes.
Well, he leaves, doesn't he? He leaves for the whatever they call it, the Western Shores or
Mhm.
whatever.
He doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't? I thought he said that in the
Apparently.
end of the Five Armies movie.
According to whoever made the YouTube video, apparently he didn't.
Oh, okay. Where
He's
where
just
did?
kind of mad and still sulking in his forest.
Okay. Okay.
But that makes no sense. But there's so much involved with all the freaking elves, and you have so many different elves. It's confusing, but it was magical when I was a kid that I even started like studying Elvish because I was so enthralled in it. I
Nerd.
don't know. Yeah, I was a bit of a nerd. Nowadays, meh. I mean, I remember Melon.
Melon. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't know if it was that, but I sometimes watch a channel called In Deep Geek that talks a lot about different fantasy lore. And they're not. Just quickly, I'll plug this channel. Because they don't deal in like fan theories or like speculate. They actually go into written lore.
Oh, well,
What's in the
that's good.
books, or what has been added by like Christopher Tolkien, if it's Tolkien stuff, or
That's his son, right?
yeah, who finished some of his unfinished stuff after he died.
Right.
Um, and they actually go into factual stuff, and just kind of compress it so you don't have to look through all of Silmarillion and all the little scraps of stuff he wrote down that's not actually published, but it's like you can find it online or whatever. They kind of like compile that all for you. It's really interesting, And they bring up some, like, I found the channel with this video called "What Actually Is Pipe Weed," because a lot of people think they smoke
Yeah.
they smoke weed, which, I mean, in The Hobbit, when Radagast gets to toke on
Gandalf's.
Gandalf's pipe, oh
Yeah.
dude, there's more than tobacco in that pipe.
I mean, when you watch interviews specifically with Merry and Pippin,
Yeah,
the actors,
yeah, when they
they
find Saruman's weed.
yeah, they talk about that even though even the Hobbit weed is, it's a little bit special.
They're obviously zonked. We're like,
Yeah.
Barlum.
Well, that's specifically the the Sauron weed, but
Yeah.
even the Hobbit weed, it's not just.
Yeah.
It's special.
They do explain, though, that if you're gonna go by what Tolkien said and what's in the books, it is tobacco.
Well, yeah.
and it's the act of pipe smoking that has the calming quality, which I have heard from like genuine pipe smokers. I
mean, that makes sense.
You technically don't even inhale pipe smoke. You just you puff it, as a meditative thing. But still, bruh, when they blow smoke rings and smoke ships, and in the book they do it in different colors. Yeah, it's not just tobacco.
No, it can't be. Or it's special tobacco.
Oh yeah. It's called the jazz tobacco. Which I guess is slightly racist, but still. Where were we?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
well, I found out something that I find kind of interesting. I did not realize until just now that the people who wrote the Lord of the Rings script actually wrote the Hobbit script as well.
Yeah, the same people. Philippa Boyens, Peter Jackson,
and Fran Walsh.
Fran Walsh, right. I think Fran Walsh is his wife? I'm not sure. That might be wrong. But I think that's right. Or the other one.
No, she's been married to Peter. She has been married to Peter Jackson.
Oh.
Jackson since.
Jackson.
Well, since 1987. Doesn't say that they divorced, and they have children.
Okay.
So.
Fran Walsh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Of course.
They worked on a lot of movies, of course. Then.
Yeah. Yeah. Because his career kind of started there in the mid '80s with Bad Taste.
Yeah.
And then Brain Dead. That's
well,
nice.
She didn't do anything with Bad Taste, but she was.
No, that was earlier.
Out of Brain Dead.
Yeah.
That's when she started with the movies, sort of.
Yeah. Well, Meet the Feebles is probably the first thing they did
true.
together. Have you seen that one?
I'm trying to think of which one that is.
That's like the fucked up version of the Muppet Show, where all the
I've
Muppets
seen
are
parts of it.
They're like drug addicts or like sex maniacs. It's super disgusting.
Yeah.
But it's very funny.
I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen the entire thing.
Like, speaking of Peter Jackson as a director, like he just made a complete, like, not 180, but he just after the 90s he just decided, like, no, I'm this director now. Because if you compare his earlier stuff, even like a movie like The Frighteners, which was his last thing he did before The Lord of the Rings. It's very different from The Lord of the Rings.
Also, very good movie.
Frighteners is very good, yes.
I like that one.
But I mean, looking at Bad Taste, Brain Dead, and Meet the Feebles, like, they're like schlock, like ultra violent splatter, like exploitation movies.
He did Heavenly Creatures as well. I'm not sure which one that is.
It's this. I think I haven't seen it actually.
Two teenage girls share a unique bond.
Like
their parents concerned that their friendship is too intense to separate them, and the girls take revenge. Yeah, it sounds like a suicide pact.
Something like that. I actually haven't seen it, and I think that might be what kind of, made this change in him. Like, oh wait, people actually like respect me as a real director, not just like the schlock director before. Like, so maybe he just decided to be, like, I don't know, quote unquote, a real director after that. I don't know, but it's kind of sad. I would love to see what he, like, if he did a movie like Brain Dead now that he has all the money in the world. Like, imagine if his next movie was like a $200 million splatter movie. I mean, it would never happen because it wouldn't be financially viable. But just think of it, with all the experience he has with working like big crowds and all the special effects and the money to do it. Like, having like a zombie movie where there are thousands of zombies being murdered on screen or something, you know.
He could make a Lord of the Rings scale for a zombie movie. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Have armies of zombies everywhere. Because I mean, the next thing he has like announced as a director is another Tintin movie.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're ever gonna happen. They've been
No.
talking about the Tintin movie since 2011 when they made the first Tintin movie.
Was he? Yeah, he was a producer.
He was a
of the
producer. They were gonna do like a, because he started the project, the Tintin project, with Steven Spielberg, and they did like a switcheroo. So Peter Jackson was going to produce the first one, and Steven Spielberg directed the first one, and then we're going to switch. Steven Spielberg produces the next one, the Temple
of the Sun or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they have
Peter
an
Jackson's gonna
untitled
direct
third
it.
Tintin
Yeah.
film.
But like
in the works.
yeah, it's still just announced, so they're never gonna actually make it. I don't think at this
so.
point.
I hope
why
not.
would you make a Tintin sequel 10 years after the first one? It was. I mean, I like it. I think it's good, but I mean, it's too late for a sequel now.
Did it even do well?
I think it did okay.
Because the new Tintin movie came out so much later than all the like old Tintin content.
Well, yeah, that was like the late 80s, late
What's
80s.
that?
I was gonna say late early 80s became late 80s.
And then all of a sudden in
2011.
2011 you release a new Tintin movie. Like,
well, yeah, they worked. Once again, they worked a long time on it to make sure it was up to snuff.
It feels a bit odd.
I don't know how well it did. Let's see. No, yeah, it cost $135 million, so about 270 actually with everything, ads and stuff, and it just made 370 back. So that's probably why.
Yeah, because it didn't feel like that one made too well.
It didn't make the splash they wanted it to.
So why would you make another movie or even two more movies?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be worth it.
I'm thinking they planned a trilogy or something right off the bat, but then
probably.
the first one didn't tank, but it tanked, so to speak. So they're like, we'll put that on the back burner, but then they're never gonna do anything with it.
I mean, he made The Hobbit in between, so after that, so
exactly.
He had enough on his plate. He produced Mortal Engines? What?
I think you wrote the Mortal Engines even.
What?
Let's see, writer.
Horrible movie.
Yeah, Mortal Engines. Yeah, which sucks because the concept is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
but the movie came out
Cities on
terribly.
Wheels. Yeah, I know, and I haven't watched it because I heard it's bad.
Yeah, you don't watch it.
But it's almost like, because I talked about this before. I have like almost like a fetish for airships, and Cities on Wheels is kind of the same thing.
You have airships as well in the movie.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I really want to watch it, but I don't want to because I hear it's terrible. Yeah, exactly.
It's so terrible.
Yeah,
that's a shame.
That's why.
And honestly, I could not see that he is involved in it at all. It doesn't have any of him in it.
No, but that's because he didn't direct it.
True.
He's just the money and the writing behind it.
Yeah.
And I mean, isn't it based on a book? So I mean, he technically just transcribed it, or what would you call it?
Technically, rewrote it for the screen.
Sure. Yeah.
Huh.
I mean,
I've never thought of all the things he's produced.
Yeah, I mean, he produces more than he directs really nowadays.
Yeah.
I guess that's what happens when you make like one of the most celebrated trilogies of all time. I'm gonna coast a little bit, produce some stuff. I'll make my movies when I feel like.
I mean, he probably doesn't ever have to do another movie.
No.
To be honest.
And also, I know because of the Lord of the Rings, they had to like develop so much new technology to make it like possible to do all the technical stuff in the CGI. That he has kind of gone down that route to see what you could do with, like, how you can develop new technology for filmmaking. That's why he made the documentary about the First World War, They Shall Not Grow Old.
Oh, yeah.
Where he restored footage and colorized it, like, faithfully colorized it, not just slapped some paint on it, so that it looks like, I saw that in the theater. It looks like it could have been shot today. It looked like professionally shot stuff, and this was on like handheld in the 1920s. It is. It is, and it's a technical feat. It's amazing. It's a good
Yeah,
documentary.
sure.
And he's more into that. He's done the same now for some streaming service. He did this Beatles series, like
Yeah, the
Get
Beatles Get
Back
Back.
something, where he's kind of done the same thing. He found like unreleased material and restored it. Yeah, it's for Disney Plus, right?
Think so.
Wow, then I want to watch. I'm not a huge Beatles fan,
Yeah,
but
it's
I'm still
Disney Plus.
interested in watching that.
I mean, just looking at like the trailer that comes up, it looks.
Yeah, it looks like it's shot today, but it's made in
Yeah.
the like late '60s.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's pretty
that's
cool.
kind of stuff he has been working on, I guess, more than actual movies. Maybe also
Maybe that's his
because
passion.
yeah, maybe because people didn't appreciate the Hobbit movies as much as they did the Lord of the Rings
Yes.
movies. Um, uh, going
Well, like we said, there's a reason. The Lord of the Rings movies have immaculate special effects when it comes to physical special effects, not digital.
yeah,
And then The Hobbit kind of botched it by doing too much digital shit.
and also just going quickly back to the Lord of the Rings before we wrap this up, because we talked a bunch of other
Yes.
stuff. Um, like even those small problems, and even the problem I have, or we have, whatever, with the acting. I mean, it's still very accurate to the book, all that stuff.
Sure,
Even
I
though
can
if
imagine.
the acting suffers for it, it's okay, I suppose. That's why you don't like, oh, the acting sucks. You just say that it's lacking instead of saying it
Yeah.
sucks. But other than that, I mean, it is so close to a perfect movie on a technical level. And they made
Yeah.
3 of them back to back. And he managed to, for the most part, entertain a very dedicated fan base,
Oh,
and
yeah.
make not just good or passable movies out of like all super beloved books, classics, but actually make great movies out of them. Like it have every like hit everything going against him, like taking some of the most beloved books ever written. Like the basis for all modern fantasy is Lord of the Rings, or I guess the Middle Earth stuff that he made. And actually just being faithful and also making them into good movies.
Because
It will never be like, it will never be topped. He can never make anything as good as this again. No one can.
No.
Like this was
No.
there will never be another fantasy movie that tops this one.
No.
I mean,
He obviously tried and failed with The Hobbit.
I don't think he tried. I think
He didn't try
we
it
talked
hard
about
enough,
this.
at
Yeah,
least.
I think that was like he kind of coasted on that one. Like, oh, we can
Yeah.
use more green screen because it's easier. Like, no.
Well, just looking at, because IMDb is a wonderful website where you can find so much on film, and people actually do put in their opinions. So it feels like it's kind of valid,
Sure.
their rankings and stuff. I mean, all 3 of the Lord of the Rings movies are in the top 15. The first
Top
one and the
15?
third,
Oh,
yeah,
on
because
the
the
top
second,
250 list.
yeah, because the
Okay.
second one is on place 14.
Yeah.
But the first one is 10, and the third one is actually number 7 on the list.
Yeah.
So I mean, and they won Oscars, and they have high scores everywhere. They're everywhere. The Metacritic score is 92 for The Fellowship.
Yeah.
Everyone liked it, more or less.
Yeah, and even the user ratings,
Yeah,
it's an 8.8.
exactly.
And let's see. There's obviously going to be a bunch of 1 stars. Let's just see.
There's a bunch of 10 stars as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always going to happen. I'm just looking here. 1 out of 10. I'm the president of the Lord of the Rings Haters Confederation. So, that's kind of
Yeah.
stuff you can't really read because. Oh, that's all there is. Okay. I thought it was going to be more. Oh, no, there it is. What? Oh, it's fake. Okay. It was fake, yeah. Because it starts with too much propaganda, the continuous annoying importunity for it in newspapers, TV news, radio news, in the streets, in the magazines, in the people talking, all right in your ears and eyes to the extent that you'd think it was international hypnosis. So the one who don't even hear about it finds himself have no excuse but to love it, even while viewing it. Okay, I don't know. He means
I mean,
that
there are a few.
people like it because of the the ads. That is part of it.
True.
That's something we don't talk about a lot, but good trailers, like good pre-release work, is very important to making people like a movie.
Oh yes.
Like if they just said, "Oh yeah, it's this fantasy movie about a ring, and there's a bunch of orcs and monsters and knights and warriors," like, I'm like, "Oh, cool movie." But when you have the music, you're right, based on the legendary Tolkien work, and like really building it up. I mean, it helps that it is actually based on a classic literary work.
Yes.
But still, like, people when you write that stuff into trailers, like my perfect example of that is for a video game. What's it called? Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. Shit game. It's a terrible sequel to a pretty good original game, whatever. It's a Castlevania game. And in the trailer, they call it the epic conclusion to the Lords of Shadow franchise. This is a second game, so there's no franchise yet.
You can't include something that hasn't started properly.
Yeah, and they really wanted to bank hard on, like, this is like an important epic, like, it's a story full of destiny, which is a shit game, but people bought it because of that.
Well, yeah.
And they do that. That's a lot of like trailers and stuff. I mean, look at all the trailers for The Rise of Skywalker. We're going to Disney again.
Oh God, yeah.
The Rise of Skywalker is one of the worst movies of this decade.
Yes.
And they knew that because 90% of the trailers for that movie was footage from the old movies.
Yeah.
They didn't show anything from the new movies because no one cares about like, Finn and Poe and Rey.
It's Star Wars. Go watch it. That's all they had to say.
Yeah, it's Star Wars. And this is not the same thing, of course, because they didn't have they didn't have any movies to fall back on, like The Hobbit did. Though they could go full nostalgia mode on those trailers. But for this, they did the same thing. Though they used the fact that the books are so beloved.
Yeah.
And that probably swayed some people who wouldn't have seen it otherwise. Now, I'm not saying,
True.
like I said, the movies are not bad. There's not just
no.
I'm just saying that it's a case where the trailers are actually accurate to what the movie actually is, instead of just being good trailers. Anyway, it was just an
high note. I have a detail that I actually like with this one, considering that we've watched The Hobbit nowadays. Have you ever realized that the trolls are in this movie as well? The three trolls that Bilbo fights.
No, I know there are trolls, but not those three.
Well, they walk past the petrified trolls.
They do?
Yes.
And they're actually in shot? Like you can see
Yes, you can see the three trolls kind of clearly.
What?
I will show you later, but they're in the movie. In this one, the cut that I watched now, the HBO regular cut.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but do you have a time code? I can just
No, I don't remember the time code. Okay. I'll show you later.
Okay.
But just that's a nice detail.
Yeah, well,
and I mean, Bilbo talks about it in the beginning when he talks to the kids.
He talks about his stories. Yeah, and I mean, that book was already written, so I mean, it makes sense that it would be there. But
and I mean, they
never
do
noticed
walk.
that.
They leave the Shire in the same direction, I think.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know the geography that well.
No, but it feels like they're walking the same way, kind of.
Sure, yeah.
So it makes sense, and it's a nice detail. And I think just now, I can't tell you if it looks perfectly the same, but I think they actually designed the trolls in The Hobbit kind of well, based on the short piece they're in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
the Fellowship.
You see that on the trolls in the earlier backstory war stuff. You see some trolls there.
Yeah,
and
the
cave troll is exactly the same kind of troll. That flat face with the eyes wide apart. That's why they look that way in The Hobbit, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Consistency.
Well, that's a nice detail.
Yeah, that is a very nice detail. I need to check that out.
Attention to detail is again
that is very important as well. Yeah,
very well.
Yeah, but also that's why it is a such a good movie, because it has attention to detail, but it's also a good movie. It's not like some of Ridley Scott's later movies. He's always been a very detail-oriented director. Like, everything needs to look real, look lived in, needs to make sense. Like Alien. Every detail feels like everything feels real, but it's also a fun, engaging, scary story.
Yeah.
But then you look at Prometheus, where all the ships are great, all the technology feels real. I mean, they built some of the machines for real, the robots are real. But the story sucks, because he forgot, in all his detail work, he forgot about the story.
He kind of got overworked, probably.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, story's fine.
And that's what I mentioned before, that's you sometimes get that in this movie, where it's like,
yes,
you just say the lines, it's fine. And I also say them in Elvish, so it's even harder, so there's a language barrier for people when we're watching this.
Yeah.
That's also a thing. I've mentioned this before, that sometimes when you're watching a movie in a language you don't speak yourself, it is harder sometimes to detect timbre and emotionality in the voice, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely feel in the scene we talked about with Arwen and Aragorn. Arwen.
Jesus.
They both speak Elvish to each other, and a little bit of the feeling is lost because you're not actually following along.
We can't tell if that's emotional or not because we don't know how Elvish is supposed to sound when they're emotional.
It's the same thing, the joke that, Russian always sounds angry. Yeah, it sounds like because the language is written that way, but it's also, they can be saying happy things. We just don't know because we don't speak Russian, and that's the way the way you speak Russian.
Yeah. Or like how so many non-Swedish speaking people will say that we have a very sing-song way of speaking Swedish.
For
and we're like, no.
No, for me,
it sounds kind of crude.
Swedish is kind of an ugly language. Like, compare it to like Italian or
French.
French, yeah. Oh.
It's crude and ugly.
Yeah.
But, languages.
So, yeah. But overall... yeah,
The Lord of the Rings is a fantastic movie.
Yes, and watching it this time, I like I said, I have a newfound appreciation for it.
Yes.
I do like it more. I'm still not sold on it like the greatest movie ever made or anything.
Well, no. But it's definitely deserved all the praises and all the awards.
Yes. Even though I am like a fantasy fan, it's not the kind of movie I prefer.
Well, no.
I prefer other stuff, especially when that's also something that has changed. Like, before I was much more into fantasy, now I'm into, like, I don't know what I'm into now. I'm into...
Well, tastes will change.
Yeah, sure.
That's always going to be a thing. But I am excited to watch second and third one now for our future episodes.
I'm specifically excited to watch the second one just to see if I actually like it now instead of hating it.
I'm actually going to start watching it tonight.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much. Well, should we score it? We don't usually do that.
Nah, we don't always do that. It's a great movie. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I put it as an 8 out of 10 on IMDb. I saw.
I need to start rating things on IMDb. I haven't done that. That's my new thing. That's my New Year's resolution. I'm gonna start rating the movies we talk about on IMDb, so I can tell you my rating that way as well.
That or Letterboxd, if you want to do more social media stuff, sort of. Can
we have an account for us?
I guess. Well,
we'll see.
It's hard if we have different opinions on movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
whatever.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yes.
We will, like we said, we will be back next Thursday with the Return of the King discussion. But if you want to hear our Two Towers discussion, we are releasing that this Monday on patreon.com/don'tmakeascene. $3
links
a month.
Are everywhere.
Yeah, links are everywhere. $3 a month, an extra episode every week, early access to my other podcast, commentary tracks, early access to videos, so much stuff. Please check it out. But other than that, once again, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you at least on Thursday, I hope. Bye.
Bye.